All right, I want to welcome a special guest for this segment, prison consultant and author Justin Piperni. And also with us for the entire hour, federal executive clemency attorney and former Department of Justice senior attorney and federal prosecutor Tammy Allison and trial attorney Rachel Fezay. Thank you all for being with me tonight. Justin, I'll begin with you because it was clear that what this defendant wanted, what Chauvin wanted, was to go to federal prison. He was even willing to pay with years of his life to go to federal prison because if he stayed in the state system, he might have been eligible for parole after 15 years. But here, he's probably going to end up doing closer to the 21 that the federal government wants him to do. So give me a sense of why he might want that. What is so special about federal prison?
Even in a higher security prison, and I suspect he'll go to a medium security prison, probably Oxford, which is closest to his home in Minnesota, there's more resources available, better programming, but more importantly, in a state prison, he may have served time with people that he arrested and people who could be out to get him. So in a federal facility, it's less likely he'll come across anyone that he's arrested. And also there are just lower proclivities for violence, I would argue. And for these reasons, it's worth it for him to serve a little bit longer in the federal system than he would have endured in a state system. Just a little less risk for him on the federal side.
Now, I think it's important to point out that you've actually spent time in federal prison. So give us a sense of what day-to-day life is going to be like for Chauvin. Do you expect him to be within solitary confinement? Will he be in the general population? What do you expect?
Well, I was fortunate to be in what many people call these cushy country club or federal camp, so to speak. He will be in a higher security prison. He'll have a decision to make if he wants to try to endure life in general population. He'll have to embrace humility, lay low, avoid those who may be looking to exploit or take advantage of him because of his notoriety. When I went to prison, nobody knew me. It was easy to lay low, and I was in a much lower security prison. The problem for him, if he chooses to check into protective custody, you serve that time in the special housing unit, though I can assure you there's nothing special about it. You're locked in essentially a bunker for 23 hours a day. So it's in his interest to adjust well, to not focus on his prison reputation, but rather avoid problems, recognize this is harder on his family, and embrace the good news that today he has clarity, he has a release date, and if he avoids problems, he'll be home. Some people, however, in higher security prisons look to respond inappropriately for people who are looking to exploit them, and there could be more charges, more problems, lose the good time that he's going to get. So life in prison for him can be incredibly productive by way of programming, contributing, giving back, or he can sit in the TV room all day and complain and talk about the life he used to have. The choice is his.
All right. Now, there was some suggestion that they were asking for specific prisons. Now, we don't know right now. The judge didn't point out, I think, at least as far as I know, which prison he would be going to. Do most defendants get to choose where they go?
Federal defendants at sentencing should absolutely ask for a specific prison based on programming, closeness to their release address. Most judges will recommend the specific prison, though it is up to the Bureau of Prisons in Grand Prairie, Texas, to make the actual designation. But absolutely, his lawyer should have asked for the closest medium security prison. And if I'm a betting man, it's probably the medium security facility in Oxford.
All right, stand by, Justin, because I want to get our other guests involved now. I got Tammy Allison and Rachel Fezay. And Tammy, I'll begin with you. Love to get your response to this particular sentence. He got 21. He was given 22.5 in state court, so a little bit less here. Your thoughts?
You know, Michael, I also worked at the Federal Bureau of Prisons for 3 years as a senior employment law attorney. So I'm very familiar with the federal prison system as well. And I do understand, you know, his decision to go to federal prison for a longer period of time, because as stated, the programming there will increase his likelihood of getting good time credit that could actually reduce his sentence of the amount that he actually serves to be around maybe the same what the sentence was in state court. So it just depends on how his conduct is, if he stays out of trouble, if other inmates don't bother him, and how the other correctional officers view him, because all of that ties into how his case manager views him, and the case manager at the Federal Bureau of Prisons is the person that ultimately decides what type of programming that he is allowed to get into.
Rachel Fezay, I mean, when you look at the way this thing turned out, he might serve a little bit more time in federal prison, but essentially he gets what he wants here. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with the sentence here?
It does appear to be gaming the system a bit when you think about it, because he already had the 22 and a half years in a state prison, and now he's just gaming a bit to get into the federal prison as the plea deal goes. I think that was probably contemplated by the federal prosecutors when they allowed the plea deal to happen. I think everybody probably knew this would be how it would go. I think the important point here is that this man stay behind bars, and my guess is that was just the deal that was to be done to make that happen.
Yeah, now I want to read a statement by the Floyd family, but by the attorneys. This was actually a statement that was given during the state sentencing. They have not, we don't, as of right now, have a statement from them with this federal sentencing, but I think it applies. Let's look at it. The Floyd family understands Derek Chauvin may serve more time in federal prison than he would in state prison because federal guidelines indicate a greater percentage of a sentence is required to be served than at the state level. It is important to the family that he serves as much of his sentence as possible. And again, that was through the Floyd family attorneys, Ben Crump, Antonio Romanucci, and Jeff Storms. So I want to go back to you quickly, Justin. There are people who want him to do more time. He's going to do more time, it seems. He's going to be in federal prison. But some people say, you know, let him go to state prison where he might run into some people who maybe he put behind bars, make life as difficult as possible for him. He's going to federal prison. What would you say to those people who want him to serve hard time, but he's actually going to federal prison? What would you say to them?
Well, at some point, for some, the punishment will never be enough. If he got life in prison for some people, it wouldn't be enough. So the question is, what is justice? What's in the interest of the Floyd family? You just read a quote stating the longest time possible. I think it's okay for him to serve time in a place where he can program, perhaps be closer to his family, work to reconcile with society, demonstrate how he can become a law-abiding citizen, work to become better because he has a release date. At some point, he'll be on the other side of prison boundaries looking to contribute to his community that he has destroyed and devastated and ruined the lives of so many people. So if he has an opportunity to demonstrate how he can live as a law-abiding citizen, and if a federal prison increases that opportunity, I think it's in everyone's interest for him to seize it, because he's coming home and he's going to be expected to contribute again and prove worthy of liberty from a probation officer and people in his community looking for work again. That would be my argument. For some, it's never going to be enough.
Fair enough, and I would have to agree with that. But again, we shall see what he does with his time in prison. All right, thank you so much to Justin Piperni for joining us this evening. Truly appreciate it, Justin, you taking out the time to be with us.